Good morning. Good to be with you this morning and Tuesday morning. And I hope you had a great day yesterday and hope you have a great day today. Our focus is continuing to be on overcoming distracting thoughts and mental restlessness. And still focusing on peace in particular. This morning, our focus is on Esther chapter 9, verse 30. And this is what Esther 9, verse 30 says. He sent letters to all the Jews, to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, namely words of peace and truth. Now, what is interesting is in the entire book of Esther, the word peace appears only once, and it's here, and it's basically near the very end of the book. In the book of Esther, we see the hand of God protecting God's people. Because two people dared to stand up against the evil plot that was against the people of God. So two people dared to stand and say, you know what, no, we're not going to allow this. And they had the guts to say, we're going to stand up and we're going to be counted. And because of that, God, and through their willingness to step up, God protected his people. Esther was reluctant to take that stand, but her uncle persuaded her by pointing out that, you know what, she would not escape this evil plot. The evil plot was to destroy the people of Israel, and it was one man's desire, and the government of the day was in agreement with that because they were ill-informed at that time, and they were willing to go along with what this man wanted. They didn't know the whole story. So Esther, of course, she was willing to take that step and take the stand up against this evil plot. And here's some things that we need to consider. I think some points that are worthy to consider, that are important for us to consider. Number one, God did not remove the evil plot. So God didn't come in, and say, okay, no, we're just going to remove that guy and remove this evil plot. God did give his people the tools to fight back. He gave them the tools. The king eventually, when he understood the full story, actually gave them the right to fight back, to defend themselves. And actually letters went out to everybody saying that they did not have to just stand by and let this evil plot go against them. Esther risked her life by going to the king and confronting Haman and his evil plot. If you're familiar with the story of Esther, of course, she was chosen to be the new queen after the other queen had been basically disposed of. And so she now was queen. The king had full authority to do with her whatever he wanted to. And for her just to come in unannounced or to come in without being requested by the king in that day, she was at great risk of her life. And so she risked her life to go. And then she had a feast, and she invited the king and Haman. Hi, Jen. Good to have you on this morning. And she invited the king and Haman to come and to be part of this feast. And it was there that she made it very clear that Haman had this evil plot against her people. And so you have that. And then you have Mordecai. Mordecai was in the right place at the right time. Mordecai had overheard a plot about those that were going to actually try to overthrow the king, and was able to report that to the king, and that put him in good standing with the king at that time. So there was that reality that he was in the right place at the right time so that he could speak to that situation and protect the king's life. Thus he gained credibility with the king and was able to, once this all came out about Haman, that helped in that area as well. And then the people of Israel still celebrate that that situation. They still celebrate. It's called Purim. Purim is a festivity that the Jewish people still have to this day. And this verse that I'm talking about here, Esther 9, verse 30, is part of this letter that Mordecai had sent out and that Queen Esther endorsed that would commence this celebration that they would have, and again, still have to this day, the celebration of Purim. Now, how might this apply to our world today? Well, number one, God may not remove whatever evil happens in your life. He may not remove that. He may not remove if someone has an evil intent against you. He may not take that away from us. And sometimes we might pray that God would take that away from us, but oftentimes He just doesn't take that away. But God does give us what we need to be able to fight back, to be able to deal with that, in our personal lives, in society, that He gives us the tools that we need to be able to say, you know what, no, I'm not going to allow that to happen to me. I'm not going to just be here and be a victim in this situation. And then sometimes we do need to take the risk. I mean, when we're going to stand up for ourselves, when we're going to stand up for doing what is right, there is risks involved, and we have to question whether or not this is a risk I want to take. Esther really struggled with whether she wanted to take that risk. It wasn't until she realized by her uncle's words that she was not going to escape this, that she realized that she had to take the risk, and then was willing to take that risk. And then finally, I think it's a good thing to celebrate the victories. We all have victories in life. Sometimes those victories are small, sometimes those victories are big. Whatever the victory is, take time to celebrate those victories. And that's a great lesson that we can learn from Esther and from Mordecai and from the people of Israel in Esther's day. It was a great victory for them, and they took time to celebrate it. And like I say, they're still celebrating that victory today. So have a great day, and as you take the risk to do what God has called us to do, and then to do so by leading in peace, and understand that when we have that, for Esther and her people, it led to peace, and that was their end goal, was the peace that they would find in the midst of this. But it wasn't without going through some difficult and troubling times for them at first. But it led to peace in the end. And so when we do what God has called us to do, that too will lead us to peace. Have a great day, and I'll see you again tomorrow.